Have you ever felt it, that unseen force in a crowd, at a concert, or even just scrolling online? It's like a current of energy that seems to have a mind of its own, and it shapes our world in ways we're only just beginning to understand. Today, we're going to go on a journey that starts with a seriously creepy ghost story and it ends at the very fabric of reality itself.
So let's just start with the one question that powers this entire thing. Can a thought, if it's powerful enough, if enough people pour their energy into it, actually take on a life of its own? Can it become real?
To answer that, we're not going to start with some ancient, dusty text. Nope. We're starting in 1972 with a group of scientists who decided to do something absolutely wild. They tried to create a ghost on purpose.
And what's so wild here is how they did it. This wasn't some accident. It was a construction project. First, the researchers literally wrote a character sheet for their ghost, Philip Aylesford. They gave him a whole tragic backstory, a life, a death, the works. Then came the ritual. Night after night, they sat around a table and just focused on him, poured all their collective belief into this made-up man. And then something answered back. And this is the part that gets me. This wasn't just, a cold spot in the room or a weird feeling. We're talking about real, physical events. Their shared thoughts started to move things in the real world. The table would rap out answers to questions, it would slide around, it even levitated. Their idea was becoming physically real.
So here's the kicker. The scientists knew Philip wasn't a real, historical ghost they had contacted. They concluded that they hadn't summoned a spirit at all. They had created one, right there in that room, from absolutely nothing but shared belief, a thought form. And believe it or not, there's a very old name for that. That name, the occult term for what these researchers built, is an egregore. It's a concept that's been around for ages, but man, does it describe our modern world perfectly.
So, to put it simply, an egregore is basically a group mind. It's a psychic entity that sparks into existence when a bunch of people focus their energy, their thoughts, their emotions, on the same idea or goal. It's like the vibe of a group gets so strong it develops its own personality.
And these things have a few key rules. First, they're born from a group, right? But then, this really interesting symbiotic relationship starts. The egregore feeds on the group's attention and emotion. That's its food. And in return, it influences the group, reinforcing their beliefs and making them feel more connected. It's a feedback loop. And if it gets enough energy, it can almost become its own independent thing, acting on its own. And yeah, they can be super positive, creating unity, or they can be incredibly negative, fueling fanaticism.
Okay, I know this sounds like some pretty far-out stuff, but what if we're seeing this play out in one of the biggest stories of our time? Let's talk about Stranger Things. You know the story. The kids are in the basement, they're playing Dungeons & Dragons, and they create this monster for their game, the Demogorgon. They give it a name, they pour their imagination into it. And then a monster that looks and acts just like it shows up in their town. It's a perfect fictional example of a small group collectively focusing on an idea and basically willing it into existence.
But this creates a total head-scratcher, a classic time loop called the bootstrap paradox. It's the ultimate chicken or the egg problem. Did the kid's imagination literally create the monster from scratch? Or did the monster already exist in the Upside Down and it just sort of leaked its own blueprint into their minds, into their game? There's no clear beginning or end. It's a perfect circle.
And that leads to an even crazier idea, retroactive lore. The theory goes that the kids' act of creating the Demogorgon was so powerful, it didn't just create the monster in their present moment. It also created the monster's entire past. It's like the universe had to invent a backstory, a whole Dimension X for it to come from, just to make its sudden existence make logical sense.
And before you say, no way, listen to this quote from the legendary physicist John Wheeler. He basically argued that our observation of the universe now actually brings its past into being. The power of the present moment forces the past to fall in line. In a way, the manifestation doesn't just appear, it writes its own origin story as it's born.
So this isn't just about creepy science experiments and sci-fi monsters. This idea, this framework, can be used to look at some of the most powerful forces that are shaping our actual world right now.
Think about it. A political movement fueled by the collective hope and anger of millions of people, it acts just like an egregore. Or intense sports fandoms. All those shared rituals, the colors, the chants, you're literally feeding a collective entity whose only goal is to win.
And corporations? Oh, they are masters at this. They use logos like modern-day magic sigils, symbols designed to tap right into our subconscious and feed the brand's power with every little bit of our attention.
All right, so if these things are real, and some of them can turn pretty negative or even parasitic, what do you do? How do you defend yourself? How do you break their hold on you?
Well, occult traditions have a couple of main strategies. The first one is pretty straightforward: withdrawal of attention. An egregore needs psychic energy to live, so you just stop feeding it. Starve it with your silence and indifference, and eventually it'll fade away. The second method is a bit more confrontational. It's called therapeutic blasphemy. This is where you actively mock the sacred symbols and ideas of the egregore. You make fun of it to break its psychic power over you.
And honestly, the best way to understand this is to think of it like a toxic ex, right? You've got two main ways to get over them. You can go full no contact, block their number, starve them of the attention they crave until they just fade from your life. Or you can get together with your friends, laugh at all their ridiculous habits, and break that spell they had over you. Same exact principle, just on a different scale.
So, if our collective thoughts can create these weird entities that can actually affect our world, it kind of blows the doors open on a much bigger question: what even is reality? To even scratch the surface of that one, we have to look way, way beyond what we can see.
Okay, so we live in the third dimension: height, width, depth. We get that. And we can easily picture the dimensions below us, right? A 2D flat piece of paper, a 1D line, and a 0D single point. Easy enough. But this is where the fun starts. What happens when we go up?
Well, theorists say the fourth dimension is time, but not time as we feel it. Imagine your entire life, from birth to death, existing all at once as a single object, like a long worm. That's you in 4D. The fifth dimension? That's a web of all the possible timelines, branching off from every single choice you ever could have made. And the sixth dimension would be the space that contains all those webs, giving you the ability to theoretically jump between them.
As we keep climbing, the scale just becomes absolutely insane. We're talking about a multiversal soup. Every possible universe you can imagine, even ones with completely different laws of physics, all existing at the same time, all stacked together. That's the theoretical space of the 8th, 9th, and 10th dimensions. And finally, we reach the 11th dimension, the singularity. At this level, everything collapses into one single point. All possibilities, all universes, all of existence, it's all one thing. The idea that you are separate from the universe is just an illusion. You aren't in the universe, you are the universe. You're the paper, the pen, the drawing, and the hand that draws.
Which brings us right back to where we started, but now on a cosmic level. If a group of people's thoughts can create an egregore, and if at the highest level of reality, the thought and the thinker are actually the same thing, then who or what is holding the pen?